Good evening. The most disruptive rail strike in decades will go ahead on Southern Rail next Tuesday, Wednesday and Friday. Earlier today, the Transport Secretary, Chris Grayling, appealed to the rail unions to cancel the walkout in the row over driver-only trains.
The government's working as hard as we can to get a resolution to this. It is a dispute between a private rail company and its workforce. We obviously want to get this sorted out, and I have extended an offer to the unions that if they'll suspend their strike action, I'll get involved in trying to help resolve the situation. But it's up to them to stop disrupting passengers' lives. It's the unions that are causing this trouble. It's the unions that have called the disputes. That's what has to end.
But his appeal was ignored. Well, for the first time, both sides agreed to be interviewed together. Our transport correspondent, Mike Pearce, firstly asked Paul Cox from the RMT how he can sleep at night knowing just how much disruption is being caused.
Well, Mike, I'm quite content. I console myself quite easily with the fact that it's a safety issue and nothing but a safety issue. And I just want to point out, Mike, all the disruption to the service is not related to industrial action or industrial disputes. There are some other underlying causes of poor service, and that's not got anything to do with the trade unions.
Angie?
The union are striking on the premise of saying this is about safety. You know, we want to modernise the railway. We want to make some modest changes here to a way of operation that we've been using for the last 30 years that is declared safe to improve the service that our passengers so desperately need.
Well, clearly passengers have a lot of different views. We were out earlier today at Brighton Station talking to them. This is what they told us.
Is this, at the end of the day, all about money?
Is there not a more diplomatic way of resolving your issues rather than causing disruption to hundreds of thousands of people across the country?
I'm wondering now why the unions are so concerned about safety when the old slam door trains, which were inherently dangerous, and they didn't raise any safety concerns then, but now with the new electronic trains, safety seems to be the main concern.
The safest methodology of train dispatch is to have a guard or a conductor doing it. That is the second safety critical person on the train. The travelling public in Sussex, Surrey and London have become a bit more sophisticated after 9 months of dispute, and they know exactly what this dispute is about, and they have made their mind up, and that's been proved in survey after survey.
The changes that we're making here, as I've said, they're small changes about an operation that we already do. We desperately need to improve the service. The service, I accept, over the last couple of months has not been good enough for our passengers, and the industrial relations issues have only exacerbated those.
Angie, what do you say to people who say perhaps, you know, after 9 months it's time for someone else to try and resolve this dispute? I mean, you haven't been able to do it. There's no prospect of that happening.
Well, we've been working hard to try and resolve the dispute with the union. We've been to ACAS. I've personally been to ACAS, and Paul's been there. You know, I think it's interesting that Paul says there's 35 safety critical things that the conductors do. They've never been able to produce that list.
But Paul says the fight goes on, don't you?
It's about the doors, but it's not just about the doors. It's about 35 safety critical functions, and it's about keeping the railway safe. You have my word on that. Look, I will sit down and I will talk. I will make the same offer I made a long time ago.
But they don't want that offer. They want you to back down and
they want us to surrender, roll over and sacrifice rail safety. We're not going to do that.
The RMT and ASLEF have always said at the heart of this dispute is safety. That is no longer an issue here, and therefore the unions can bring this dispute to an end tomorrow for the sake of the passengers and our staff.
But I think the reality is that's not going to happen in a hurry. Thank you both for joining us.
Mike Pearce with that report. In other news tonight, a motorist has been found not guilty of causing death by dangerous driving following a fatal collision in Bournemouth. Peter Worrell, who was 49, died as he was walking on Castle Lane East in December 2015. His wife was seriously injured. 25-year-old Thomas Pittaway from Branscore has been acquitted of all charges. A man from West Sussex who assaulted a man and a woman with a samurai sword has started a 14-year jail sentence. Sam Bath, who's 53, attacked the couple near their home in Selsey last February. Bath will serve a minimum of 10 years in prison. Planes landing at Southampton Airport are being put at risk by laser pens and powerful torches. That's according to Hampshire Police, who say there have been 5 incidents in the past week. All of the flights, including one helicopter, landed safely. British Airways is reassuring its passengers it will still be able to fly next week despite a 2-day strike. 2,000 crew at Heathrow Airport will walk out on Tuesday and Wednesday in a dispute over pay. The airline says that no flights from Gatwick will be affected, although some may be merged. A father is pleading with the government to impose harsher sentences for killer drivers after his son died in a hit and run. James Gilby, who was 25 and from Uphaven in Wiltshire, was mowed down by two men racing at 80 miles an hour. His father, Richard, has collected more than 10,000 signatures on a petition, as Mel Blore now reports.
James was a happy lad. He was a happy-go-lucky, full of life. He liked to socialise. He had lots of friends, so a lot to live for. Just moved into a new house. Everything was all going for him.
On the evening of July 15th, 2015, James Gilby had been walking home after a night out with a friend. 5 minutes from home, he stopped to cross the road. At that moment, he was hit by a car being driven at 80 miles per hour. The driver, Majid Malik, seen here on the left, was racing his friend Kayaz Mahmood at twice the speed limit. James was struck with such force, his body landed 230 feet away. After spotting James lying in the road, Malik sped off to dispose of his car and burn his clothes. Eventually, Malik, who has 39 previous convictions, came forward and admitted causing death by dangerous driving. His friend Kayaz Mahmood was found guilty in court. Since James's death, his father, an army major based at Uphaven in Wiltshire, has campaigned for cases of death by dangerous driving to be treated as manslaughter.
They condemned James to a death sentence when they made that decision to race each other at high speed in a residential area. And in condemning him to a life sentence, they condemned the rest of us to a life sentence of heartache and pain.
Last month, the government announced a consultation on plans to increase the maximum sentence for causing death by dangerous driving from 14 years to life. It's a move welcomed by James Gilby's family, whose pain is ever present.
When the judge announced that they were being sentenced to 8 years, there was a bit of a gasp. But then when he told them that they were served 4, Angela and I had to endure their family running around the courtroom cheering and laughing, saying, "That's okay, they'll be home in 4 years." Yet, we know our boy will never come home.
Mel Blore reporting there. 2 directors at the troubled South East Coast Ambulance Service have resigned. In a statement, the Trust said medical director Rory McRae had stepped down for personal reasons. It later emerged Professor Andy Newton, the executive paramedic director, is also leaving. The service is currently in special measures. And it's set to be a busy weekend for staff at Marwell Zoo near Winchester, who are in the middle of their annual stock take. They're counting just how many animals they have spread out over 140 acres. And this year, there are quite a few babies to take into account.
We did have a bit of a baby boom over the summer. A trio of tiger cubs and some leopard twins, as well as a baby zebra and some baby oryx. It does take quite a while, probably over a week, maybe more. All the animal sections communicating with our registrar how many animals we do have in total.
Not an easy task. Well, let's get the weekend weather forecast now with Amanda Houston.
From sleet to the slopes, driving through Europe. Eurotunnel the Shuttle sponsors ITV Meridian weather.
Hello and a very good evening to you. Well, if you are heading out and about this weekend, it is going to be rather cloudy across the region, but on the plus side, it will be mostly dry. However, for the rest of tonight, we've still got that warm front working its way through, producing some outbreaks of rain, although most of it's still light and patchy, and eventually it's going to clear off out of the way, so becoming drier behind it. But we are left with a lot of low clouds, some mist and murk. Although the good news is all of that should help keep those temperatures above 3 degrees for most of us. So that will take us though into a very gloomy start to the day tomorrow. So there is going to be a lot of cloud around at first, which will be thick enough to give a few spots of drizzle. But as I say, the main story for tomorrow is it will be dry. The winds are going to be light. The odd lucky place might even get to see a bit of brightness as we go through the afternoon. Though for most of us, it's going to be a cloudy day, and we're looking at highs there up to around 9 or 10 degrees. 10 is 50 in Fahrenheit. And then it's a similar story for you on Sunday. So for most of us, it will be dry, but it is going to be cloudy. Highs there 8, perhaps up to 9 degrees. A little bbit milder by the time we get to Monday, but later on we are expecting some outbreaks of rain, which means an unsettled start to Tuesday. Bye-bye.
Eurotunnel the Shuttle sponsors ITV Meridian weather.
And that's all from us tonight. We're back tomorrow afternoon, but from all of us here on the Late Team, thanks for watching and have a great weekend. Good night.